Prior to her starting her consultant practice in 2012, Dr. Ofosu worked for the Federal Public Service at the Department of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, now known as Global Affairs Canada, the Department of National Defense, and the Public Service Commission. Tricia McCool, board member. Tricia is a seasoned people leader and culture cultivator with over 23 years experience in various progressive roles within the telecommunications industry. Currently, she serves as the Director, Culture and Change Management at Rogers, and her experience in DEI led to the co-founding of the Rogers Black Leadership Council. Other roles include the BPTN Partnership Lead, Inclusion and Diversity Council Member, Technology and ID Advisor, Mentor, and Rogers Mosaic, former Vice Chair. Nene Atkinson, Vice Chair. Nene is an entrepreneur, mentor, speaker, author, realtor, advocate, and more importantly, God's unique creation. After transitioning from banking for over 25 years ago, Nene has built her success story through real estate, human resources consultancy, and government consultancy. Nene currently owns real estate business, Oakville Living, with Nene, and co-runs a nonprofit foundation, I Am, I Can, I Will, with her 21-year-old daughter, Temi, and 18-year-old son, Tife, and also her 24-year-old niece, Olympia. So as the name of the panel suggests, these are resilient women, and we're gonna ask each panel members a few questions, and then we'll turn it to the audience for any question and answers, okay? First, we'll begin with Nene. How do you empower other women in your organization or business? How do you create concrete solutions to advance Black women's empowerment?
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for being here. And thank you for that awesome introduction, Audrey. It has been an honor to work with you and Tricia and Dr. Helen on the Cbcc board. So the question is, how do I empower other women in my business, and how do I create concrete solutions? So this is a very important question, especially as I have a daughter and I have tons of nieces that I mentor. As a Black woman, first of all, I always show up as a Black woman. So whenever I walk into a room, my identity is Nene Akinton, the Black woman, whether I like it or not. So as a realtor, I'm in a business where majority of the female realtors call it an old white men's club. Apologies to the old white men in the room. But that's how we jokingly refer to it. So it's been difficult for us as women to be able to establish ourselves. So I'm 54 years old, and I have a lot of female agents that I work with. And the way I empower other women is through mentorship. I do a lot of mentoring of the younger agents and also the older agents. I share my wisdom, I share my experiences, so that they do not make the same mistakes that I have made. Another thing I do is, as realtors, what we do is we do a lot of buying and selling. And for women in my business, I do something called a referral, whereby I refer deals to them, because when I started real estate many years ago, the same thing was done for me by another established realtor. Now, concrete solutions to advance Black women's empowerment. I kind of love this one because I do all of what I've just talked about. And in addition to that, I model the value of self-advancement. Self-advancement in career, entrepreneurship, your mental state, physical state, education, whatever it is. Self-advancement is very important. Looking after yourself is very key to success in whatever it is that you do. So regarding the advancing of Black women are special. We are very special. we hold the family together. When you think about historically our mothers, our grandmothers, the story has been of the strong black woman. So we're very, very special. And since the unfortunate death of George Floyd, I did something called an Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion program, thanks to the Halton Equity and Diversity Roundtable. And it taught me that as a black person, first of all, and as a black woman in particular, I am valuable. So I preach and espouse this to other black women. These are concrete steps. I tell them, I'm like, don't ever feel that you're less than because you're a black woman, because you're not. You're very valuable. You're equal to the next woman sitting next to you, and you are entitled to having a seat at the table. So that's one of the concrete steps. It's not an easy journey as a black woman, but that's one of the concrete steps I take. Like I said, I have a daughter, I have nieces, I have people that I mentor. So it's very important as a black woman that you realize that, first of all, you're very important. You are, thank you. You're very important to your family, to the larger community, and to the global system. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Sorry. Tricia, I'll ask you the same question. How do you empower other women in your organization or business? How do you create concrete solutions to advance black women's empowerment?
Thank you for that. And I have to say, the vibes in here since I walked in is amazing. It's just boss vibes. It feels great to be part of this community. Now, how do I follow Nini with what she just said? In terms of how I empower women is by sharing my experience. It's just sharing my journey. I am where I am today, and sharing what I've learned along the way and hoping that it will encourage and empower women. I've been in corporate my career for 23 years now, and for those who are trying to do the math, I'll do it for you. I started when I was 16. But the whole thing is 23 years in corporate Canada, it is a journey that is worth sharing. I've been in situations where I'm the only, most of the time, from a woman's standpoint, being a black woman, and there's just so much that comes with that. Sometimes you open your mouth in a room, in a boardroom, and you feel like your mic is off, that nobody's actually hearing what you're saying. That's one thing that we go through. Secondly, this can weigh on you, an imposter syndrome. But one thing that I tell women, I reach out, part of that journey is learning. Life is all about learning. You will go through these experiences, but that's what makes you you. There's no failing. It's all good. It's good, gooder, better, best. That's all it is. So what I say is don't let anybody dim your light. You are where you are today because you work to get there. Do not dance to the rhythm of somebody else's calibration of you. You cannot do that. Bet on yourself. And I encourage women to bet on yourself and just keep pushing. In terms of the question around what are some concrete solutions of what you can do to drive change, is put an action plan together. And with that actual action plan, have outcomes, measurable outcomes. What are you looking to attain? In my organization, they've talked about trying to drive change. We can't have this happening. We didn't know. Well, now that you know, what are you going to do about it? We need an action plan. And with every action plan, make sure you have measurable outcomes. What does success look like? And the most important thing is to track progress as you're going along. There's a saying that goes, what gets measured gets managed. We know that. You measure it, you will manage it. So make sure that the plans in place are being measured and you're tracking against that. And you're holding somebody accountable, not yourself. We cannot do this by ourselves. Let's face it, we did not create this problem. Okay, so we're not going to own it. We're going to do it together. We're going to be an ally, and we're going to work with each other. And one thing I say as well, as women, we need to support each other. The sky is big enough for us to all rise and fly. There is space for all of us, so support each other. Make sure you're helping drive change. But most of all, bet on yourself. Don't belittle yourself at the table. You've come this far. Sit tall. Make sure you're heard. And again, I can't stress that enough. Bet on yourself. Trust your future you to handle your future problems. Just go with it.
Thank you, Tricia. Now, my next question is for Dr. Ofosu. But before I ask you my question, I'm proud Dr. Ofosu is a published author. How to be resilient in your career, facing up to barriers at work. This book is a game changer for anyone who wants to jump the corporate plantation onto entrepreneurship. We have a few copies left. The sales are going to go towards the chamber to improve our programs for our members. $31 per copy. And I must say, get yourself a copy while the author is here. She could autograph it for you.
Thank you. And I want to acknowledge the CBCC's role in this book. Summer 2020, most of us were doing what we needed to do. We were at home under lockdowns. And that was the summer that the Chamber launched a pilot business mentorship program. And I joined it. And one of the guest speakers was a book agent from the United States. And I followed up with her, and she introduced me to one of her colleagues who was an editor. And I'm quite certain that the advice that I got through those two people helped me get a proper publishing arrangement. So you never know where your involvement with the Chamber is going to go, and I'm going to be forever grateful for the Chamber's contribution on that.
Okay, so Helen, your new book addresses many of the challenges of the modern workplace. The workplace has been proven to be detriment to Black women's mental, physical, and emotional health. What would you say, in your opinion, is the relationship between work and mental health?
Well, I think fundamentally, since so many of us spend probably more time at work than we spend at home, well, maybe that's changed a little bit since many people work at home or hybrid now, but they spend a lot of time at work. And if we work in a workplace where we're not valued, where we're disrespected, where we're being passed over for promotions, when we're dealing with microaggressions or worse, that adds up. And that has an awful impact on our mental health. And I've come to learn that sometimes, even if you can tolerate those things, it has a toll on you, and usually it starts to show up in physical symptoms. So I don't think that we should just, white knuckle it, so to speak, and tough it out. We need to expect better. And I think that sometimes part of the solution is entrepreneurship. And I've noticed some new studies coming out, especially from the States, but I'm seeing parallels in Canada, where Black women in particular are saying no thanks. They are leaving, they are at least starting up side hustles, or they're walking away full time and figuring out a way that is sustainable and often more lucrative than it is to just remain in the workplace, in the traditional workplace.
Thank you. Now that you're a published author, what would you say to yourself 20 years ago, now that you know what you know?
Well, honestly, this book feels like the book that I wish existed 15 or 20 years ago, because if I'd known then what I know now, I'm sure life would have been a lot smoother. But I think the big thing, I guess there's probably two takeaways. Number one, I should have been more intentional about my networking. I've always enjoyed other people. I've always had really good relationships. The way life unfolded, it was complicated for me to prioritize these business relationships and professional relationships, but the ones that I had and the ones that I've built since then have been absolutely invaluable. I would say that my relationships are probably more important than my education. So if you're wondering what's more important, just skills or your relationships, I think the relationships might actually outweigh the basic skills. And then the second thing is that I wish I had started working for myself earlier. I did it after maybe 15, 16 years in the workplace. I wish I'd had the wherewithal and the means to do it earlier, because once you figure it out, there's no turning back.
Thank you. I have one more question, and that's for Nene. Nene, how do you think the lens of being a woman in your industry, specifically real estate, helped you to build your business?
So, I like that question because it just buttresses what I said about women being very special. So, how did my lens as a woman, or the lens of being a woman in my industry, help me build my business? I'd said before that women rock. We rock. I mean, it seems like I don't like men. I do. I love my husband. But women rock. We rock. And as black women, we rock even more. No offense. But, so growing up, I learned from the best. My mother, my grandmother, my aunts. And also, I learned from people that I admire, like Michelle Obama, Nigerian author Chimamanda Adichie, and this phenomenal Nigerian entrepreneur, Ipuko Awoshika. I learned from all these people, and I also learned from my children. So I approach my business with that lens. All of these things. So I look at real estate, I look at it as a pot, my pot. And the ingredients I have in there are my lived experiences, what I learned from my mother, my grandmothers, and my aunts. I also put in that mix what I'm learning today from people like Chimamanda, Michelle Obama, Awoshika, my daughter, Temi, and my son. And when I approach my business with that lens, as I've approached my business with that lens, those ingredients, that pot of soup, I see that I am more successful doing that because as a woman, my perspective is different. So men are kind of tunnel visioned. You know, they go one direction and they still get it done. But women are able to multitask. So I can be a mother, I can be an entrepreneur, I can be a daughter, I can do all of those things. And I feel that that has helped me be honest in what I do in real estate, has helped my tenacity because honestly, women are we have strong resilience and tenacity. So regardless of what we're going through, regardless of the struggles, a woman may be sick, but she's still able to look after her husband who just fell sick after she was sick. So all I'm saying is, and I'm not putting men down, men have their own value, but I'm just saying as a woman, being a woman has helped me so much in my business. It's helped me be empathic. It's helped me engage my buyer and seller clients with a more compassionate lens because I did that as a mother. It's helped me navigate how to budget and how to make our money stretch because my grandmothers, they were not educated, but they were traders. They're called traders in Nigeria. So people who buy and sell. That's entrepreneurship, but back then it was called being a trader. And I learned how to budget, how to deal with money from my grandmothers, who are women. So I use that lens, and I think a lot of that and other things have really helped me succeed in real estate. Thank you.
Thank you, Nene. Those are all my questions for my panel members. But before we turn it to the audience for question and answers, I'd like to acknowledge another phenomenal woman in the Chamber family,
Yes.
Dr. Jamila Aman.
Woo!
Dr. Aman is our executive director. She works tirelessly, board accountable. Thank you. I just want you to know that you're appreciated and acknowledged.